Hi friends, how are you all doing? Hope you're well. I have rigged up a contraption that is temporarily fixing my broken tripod, which is what I usually hold in this situation. So if it wobbles, I'm sorry, but I'm going to try my best to not have that happen. So right now I'm in Botswana. I'm visiting my parents, and it is the 21st of December, and I have not filmed anything in all of December for this channel. I have taken footage of like my trip, and I would like to put that on the channel, but I haven't done that yet. I mean, right now it's an intimidating heap of footage on my computer, and I mean, I intend to, oops, see what I'm talking about? I'm sorry. I would still like to edit it and put it on my channel, but even still, I haven't talked at all about the books that I'm reading, and since this is booktube and my channel is about books, I would like to do so. So since December, and like basically since I left on this little trip, I have read 6 books, and I have 6 more that I want to finish before the end of the year that I have started, I'm in the middle of, and 2 more that I would still like to finish, even though that's really ambitious. In total, that would be 14. I've never read that much in a year, so that's really exciting if I could do that. And I have a lot of time traveling still, so I'm hoping I can take advantage of that in terms of reading. And yeah, we'll see. I think this will go up before I put up a video of my trip. I will tell you what I'm doing and why I'm here. I left at the very end of November and went to London, and I spent a week there with one of my best friends. She was studying in London, and then I flew down to Botswana, which was where I've been the last 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks actually, visiting my family, my parents, and then my younger sister and brother. They live here right now. They run a nonprofit organization in Zimbabwe and in Guatemala, but right now they're trying to expand in Zimbabwe. So they live here in Botswana, just across the border of Zimbabwe, because Zimbabwe's economy is really, really bad right now, so they can't really live there and have the resources that they need to be able to do what they need to do here. So I'm visiting them for Christmas. In total, I'll be here about 3 weeks, and then I'll head back. I'll have like 3 more days in London as I stop over there, and then I'll be back in Utah right before the new year. I think I'll get there on the 30th. So yes, there's that. Now I'm going to share with you what I've been reading, but I will be doing a December wrap-up where I'll talk about all of these more. So this is just going to be kind of a check-in since I haven't made anything else this month. I have uploaded some things that I filmed before, but I don't know, it's kind of a mishmash video. Yeah, it's fine. Hopefully you still enjoy it. Yeah. So for starters, I first read Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. I picked this up in London while I was there because there was another book that I brought with me from home to read on my trip, but it's massive. You'll see it in a minute. And I was just having no fun carrying it around London and pulling it out on the tube to read. I didn't want to do that, and so we went into a bookshop, because London is full of wonderful bookshops, and I've been inspired by all of the great London booktubers to check out a few that I had not been aware of before. And anyway, I picked this up. I never read Peter Pan before, and I loved it. I especially loved reading this in London. There were a lot of rainy days, so I was primarily there to see my friend. We didn't do a lot of sightseeing, so we had a very slow pace, and I spent a lot of time reading this book, and that was a lot of fun. I also, while I was there, purchased 2 other books that I will share later on. So Peter Pan, and then the next book that I read was West with the Night by Beryl Markham, and this was an audiobook that I listened to. The first week while I was here with my parents, we actually took a really long road trip through Namibia. It was a lot of fun. We saw a lot of stuff, but we drove all the way across Namibia to the coast and a few other little places, and in total, gosh, I can't remember off the top of my head now, but I think it was 40 to 50 hours driving. So I downloaded several audiobooks before we left, which is my point of saying that. This was an audiobook I listened to, like I said, it's called West with the Night. It is a nonfiction, it's a memoir, and Beryl Markham was raised in Kenya by her dad, and it's about her life she was a horse breeder, and then she became a pilot, and she was the first woman to fly across the Atlantic from west to east. Nope, from east to west. From east to west. Her writing was beautiful. I loved it. It was fantastic. I'll definitely share more about it in the wrap-up. So we were off to a very good start. The next book that I also listened to was The #1 Detective Agency, and I can't remember the author on this one. Alexander McCall Smith. I hadn't ever heard of it much before, but it takes place in Botswana. It's about a woman who starts a detective agency in Botswana. I had really high expectations, which I think hurt me from loving it quite as much, but it was really enjoyable. And I think that also, now that I've had a little bit of distance since reading the book, I've realized that there was a lot of setup in that book for the rest of the series, and that I would perhaps like it better if I read the second one and continued on with it. So at the moment I do plan to do that. The next book I listened to was Emma by Jane Austen, which was completely out of context of the, driving through the Namib desert. It was kind of weird to listen to that one. But the reason I read this is because I started Emma last summer, and I got halfway through and then I got distracted with other books and I stopped right in the middle of it. But it had been my goal all along to finish the book by the end of the year. Every time I thought about it, I thought I want to finish it. So I listened to the second half of the book. I did enjoy it, and I love the story of Emma, but I was surprised that I actually enjoyed the book less than I thought I would. I think that at the moment I might say that I like the adaptations, like the film adaptations, better than the book. I will explain myself further in a monthly wrap-up, so stay tuned for that. Also, I think it's getting really dark, so I'm gonna play with my settings. Okay, hopefully that's better. So I have such a hard time filming earlier in the day, apparently. Now it's kind of sunset, so I'll have to pick up the pace on this. The next book that I read after Emma was Tarzan, actually. I also listened to this on audiobook. I got it from LibriVox. This book was recommended to me by my 15-year-old brother, but I also really wanted to love this book because I strongly associate it with my grandpa. He loved this book. He loved the Tarzan series. I remember seeing all of the books on his bookshelves and watching the movie, the black and white movies of Tarzan with him. There are parts of it that I found really problematic. Basically the book was understandable in the context that it was written, but today those aspects of it are really racist and sexist, but that it was a product of its time. I'll share again more about that in my wrap-up, but I'm not sure about that one. The next one that I read, I'll also just sort of mention briefly. It was called A Heart Revealed by Josie S. Kilpack. This was one that I just found on my library's online library. I had no intention of reading it, but it was just sort of a day that I really wanted something very indulgent and fun. So that's what it was. It's like a Regency era romance. It was fun. It was what I was looking for. It's definitely not a great work of literature or something that I would recommend in general, unless you're just sort of looking for something cute to read, which it was. So, I mean, it worked for me. I have no complaints here. I think that's the last of the ones that I have finished so far. And I'm going to talk about the ones that I am currently reading. The one that I'm reading most aggressively is The Girl Who Drank the Moon, which is by Kelly Barnhill. It's a fantasy. It's about a girl. There's magic and there's witches and wizards, and the main character is from a town that believes they have to sacrifice the youngest born member of their community. By sacrifice, I mean they leave them in the wood for the witch, but really the witch doesn't know why they do this, and she just comes to save the child. It is cute. I'm enjoying it. I think any of my reservations really just have to do with my lack of love for children's literature or middle grade, and that's not completely true because I just said that I love Peter Pan. I feel like it's too soon to say. I am enjoying it for the most part though. The next one that I'm reading right now is called A Man of Some Repute. It's by Elizabeth Edmondson. I'm only about 10% into this one. I also had no intentions of reading this while I was on this trip. I intended to read more African placed content, or books actually. This has been a added nice variety to my currently reading list though, and I am enjoying it. Way too soon to say much about it. Oh, I should tell you what it's about though. It takes place in the 1950s in a castle in England, and there is a murder and a disputed will, I am anticipating, and a chatty neighboring town. That's sort of all I know so far. The light is going. Oh dear. The next one is Northern Lights, which is the first book in his Dark Materials, but if you're in the United States, I believe this book is called The Golden Compass, but I bought this when I was in London, so my copy says The Northern Lights, which that actually tripped me up for a minute on Goodreads when I was trying to add it to my shelves. But anyway, I am about 30% of the way done with this, and I am enjoying it. It just barely kind of turned, like something happened that has caught my interest a lot more, so I'm excited about that. However, I'm not reading it at this moment because I was reading it in London before I came here, but here it's just so hot and it feels like a really wintry book, so it feels very out of context to read it right now, so I'm not reading it right now. But I'm thinking that I'll read it on when I'm back in London for a few days, or else on the plane ride home. The last one that I'm currently reading is called The Judgment of Paris. Oh my gosh, I forgot. I have these sitting on my lap so I can show them to you. The Northern Lights. See? This is the one I bought, okay? And then the next one that I bought that I brought with me is called The Judgment of Paris. The Judgment of Paris is by Ross King. Okay, I can't hold that up for you because I have to lean on this. Otherwise my arm is like too tired. Because apparently this is not a good setup. It's so heavy. Awkward. Sorry about that. It's a non-fiction. It's about the first half of the 18th century, specifically the decades leading up to Impressionism and just sort of the overall climate that helped produce that. It's a lot about the salons and like the academy, things that were happening at the academy that were the way the artists were reacting to it, and how that was shaping the style and what was popular and what was provoking artists to start creating the way that they were. I can mostly only read like 30 pages at a time, so I'm trying to keep on pace so that I can still finish it before the end of the year. It's a bit of a chunker, like it's a, yeah, this is the one, and it's about 450 pages, I believe, so I'm trying to stay on pace. I'm a little bit behind where I'd like to be right now. I still want to finish that before the end of the year, like I've said about all of these, and I said at the beginning, so I don't need to repeat it. And there are two more that I still would like to read. The first one is called Cry, the Beloved Country by Alan Paton. I want to read this one because it's considered like a classic of African literature. It's an audiobook, so I'm thinking that I'll take advantage of a really long layover that I have in South Africa on my way home and listen to it there. I believe it takes place in South Africa and is about a priest and his son, but I don't know a whole lot about it, and I think it'd be really fun, especially because it takes place in South Africa, to listen to it there, even though I will just be sitting inside of the airport, which is not like very much cultural immersion. But anyway, the last one that I want to read is The Ice Palace, and it's by Tarji Vesaas. Should have practiced that before this moment. So he's Norwegian, and this is considered like a great work of Norwegian literature, which is sort of what piqued my interest. It also just really looked like a great Christmassy kind of winter read. That's about it. Sorry, it is so dark again, and this is what happened in my last video, which was my BookTube newbie tag, and I'm sorry, I'm terrible at filming during a decent hour of the day, but hopefully that will get better. I really have no excuse now that I'm in Africa, so I have way more light than when I was back in like North America. But anyway, when I get back to the States and like next year, I will be putting up a video about my trips here. I'll also be doing favorite books of 2018, as well as like a December wrap up, my plans for my channel in 2019. So if you're new here, or if any of that interests you, including hearing more about the books I've mentioned just now, then please subscribe, and I'll see you in a future video, I guess. That's all I have to say. Have I been in focus or not? Again, I apologize for the quality at the end of this video. We started off strong, but I just need to learn to talk less, so anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.